You're sitting in a park one afternoon when a woman walks by and sits down beside you. Her skin is white as snow. Her hair is silver, curly, almost glowing in the light. Her eyes are pale blue. You're captivated instantly, so you work up the nerve to ask her name. She tells you it's Abarash and mentions, almost in passing, that she's from a tribe in sub-Saharan Africa, and it hits you a beat later that she's a black woman with albinism. You ask for her number. She takes your phone and types it in with her left hand. You go on a few dates. She's sharp, funny, genuinely brilliant. You fall for her, and somehow, improbably, she becomes your girlfriend. Then your alarm goes off. It was just a dream. You lie there for a second, heart racing, slightly dumbfounded, asking yourself, does a person like that actually exist? Statistically speaking, yes, but that raises a far more interesting question. Out of the roughly 8 billion people alive on Earth right now, what would the single rarest possible human actually look like if you stacked together every unlikely trait at once? To figure that out, we need to build this person piece by piece, trait by trait, starting with where they'd come from. There are roughly 7,000 distinct ethnic groups on Earth today, but the overwhelming majority of humanity is concentrated in a relatively small number of enormous ethnic populations. Han Chinese alone account for roughly 18% of the entire global population, more than 1.4 billion people from a single ethnic group. On the opposite end of that spectrum sit some of the smallest, most isolated ethnic groups alive today. The Sentinelese of the Andaman Islands are estimated at somewhere between 50 and 400 people total. The Kawahiva of the Brazilian Amazon are thought to number fewer than 30 individuals. The Spinifex people of Australia numbered only around 200 at their last recorded count. For our rarest possible human, we'll place their origin in a group this size. Conservatively, a population of 500 people set against a global population of 8 billion. That works out to 500 divided by 8 billion, or roughly 1 in 16 million. Our person already has just a 0.000000625% chance of existing, and we've only assigned them one trait so far. Now let's give this person albinism. Albinism is a genetic condition caused by mutations affecting the genes responsible for melanin production, melanin being the pigment that determines the color of skin, hair, and eyes. In someone with complete albinism, that entire production pathway is either severely reduced or essentially absent altogether. The result is white or near-white skin, extremely light or silver hair, and eyes ranging anywhere from pale blue to gray to a soft pink, depending on how light interacts with an iris that has essentially no pigment to work with. Globally, albinism occurs in roughly 1 in 20,000 people. Combine that probability with the ethnic rarity we already assigned, and our person now has roughly a 1 in 320 billion chance of existing. Next, the eyes specifically. Green eyes are often cited as the rarest common eye color, appearing in roughly 1 in 50 people worldwide. But that's not actually the rarest eye trait out there. Complete heterochromia is a genuinely rare condition where a person has 2 entirely different eye colors, one blue eye and one brown eye, for example, usually present from birth, resulting from differences in how much melanin ends up in each iris and where it's distributed. In most cases, it's completely harmless and doesn't affect vision at all. The odds of having this specific trait sit at roughly 0.06%, or about 1 in 1,667 people. Now, let's make this person left-handed. Handedness is partly heritable, but no single gene determines it outright. Even identical twins, who share nearly identical DNA, differ in handedness roughly 20% of the time. Brain lateralization plays a significant role here too. Most right-handed people process language primarily in the brain's left hemisphere, while left-handed people more often show bilateral organization, with both hemispheres sharing the workload. In many traditional communities, social pressure has historically pushed children toward using their right hand regardless of natural preference, which may mean true left-handedness is somewhat underreported in the data. Even accounting for that, a conservative estimate lands around 10%, or roughly 1 in 10 people. Combine ethnicity, albinism, heterochromia, and left-handedness together, and our person now has roughly a 1 in 5.33 quadrillion chance of existing, a number already well past anything most of us can meaningfully picture. Let's keep going. Most humans perceive color through 3 types of cone cells in the retina, each roughly sensitive to blue, green, and red wavelengths of light. The brain combines the signals from these 3 cone types to produce the roughly 1 million distinct colors visible to normal human vision. Tetrachromats carry a fourth functional cone type, sensitive to wavelengths falling between red and green, providing color information most people simply can't perceive at all, allowing some tetrachromats to distinguish up to an estimated 100 million distinct colors. Tetrachromacy shows up almost exclusively in women. Because it's linked to the X chromosome, women can inherit both a standard and a mutated version of the relevant gene, potentially producing a functional fourth cone type, while men generally can't end up with the same combination. Roughly 12% of women carry the underlying genetic mutation, but only a small fraction of those actually develop functional tetrachromacy. Researchers estimate true functional tetrachromacy occurs in roughly 1 in 40,000 women, or about 1 in 80,000 people overall once you account for the whole population. For our final trait, let's give this person a mind that forgets nothing at all. Hyperthymesia, formerly known as highly superior autobiographical memory, is the ability to recall nearly every single day of one's life in extraordinary, almost cinematic detail. Not just major life events, but ordinary days, throwaway conversations, forgettable afternoons, all retained with startling clarity. The condition was first formally identified in 2006 by neuroscientist James McGaugh, after a woman named Jill Price described to him her inability to stop remembering her own past. She described it as a continuous, involuntary replay of her entire life, running constantly in the background. Fewer than 100 confirmed cases have ever been formally identified worldwide, and even generous estimates that account for likely undiagnosed individuals place the global total at only a few hundred people, making hyperthymesia one of the rarest documented memory traits known to science. Conservatively, we'll place the probability at 500 out of 8 billion, or roughly 1 in 16 million. So here's our rarest possible human, assembled trait by trait. Someone from an ethnic group of roughly 500 people, born with albinism, complete heterochromia, left-handed, a functional tetrachromat, and living with hyperthymesia, remembering essentially every day of their own life in full detail. Stack every one of those individually rare traits together, and the combined probability of this single person existing works out to roughly 1 in 6.83 septillion. To put a number that size into any kind of perspective, the total number of stars in the entire observable universe is estimated at most, roughly 1 septillion. If you tried to count every single grain of sand on planet Earth, you'd need something like 910,000 entire Earth's worth of sand just to reach a number that large. And here's the genuinely wild part. This isn't even the rarest person you could theoretically construct. We've only stacked 6 traits together, and there are countless others we didn't touch at all. Rare blood types, unusual genetic mutations, extremes of intelligence, rare physical conditions, and dozens more variables, each adding its own layer of improbability on top of everything already stacked here. There are simply too many to fit into one video. But the actual point of all this isn't really the astronomical math. It's what that math quietly reveals about every single one of us. Every person alive today is walking around as the product of an almost incomprehensible chain of individually unlikely traits, genetic combinations, and circumstances, layered on top of each other in ways that would take a supercomputer to fully calculate. You didn't need to hit every single one of these specific extremes to be genuinely, statistically improbable. You already are, just by existing as the exact combination of traits that makes you you. It's true, there are plenty of fish in the sea, but there's no one else out there running the exact same combination you are. So keep on swimming.